All right, so it's 2025, and if you don't have a paycheck routine, what are you doing? Because it's literally the most simple thing you can do for yourself, and honestly just takes really minimal effort if you set it up once. Because I'm going to be going into the top 5 things that I personally do that have allowed me to save thousands of dollars every single year just by following this paycheck routine. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so step number 1 is that you want to start finding something called a financial baseline. And all this really means is that you want to find the bare minimum you need for essentials every single month. So think about necessities like your rent, utilities, food, groceries, transportation, toilet paper. You probably get the idea. And things like your Netflix subscription or your $10 Starbucks drink just don't fit in this. So just leave those out. I want you to just think about the essentials, just essentials to get you by on a month-to-month basis. I know this is not real life. This is not that cheap in real life, but let's just say, for example, your financial baseline is $1,000 per month. That means that on a month-to-month basis, you just need $1,000 for your rent, utilities, groceries, just all your essentials altogether. Now, if you find that this financial baseline is more than 50% of your income, some things that you can start to do to help cut down is by cutting down on things like your phone bill, for example. You could probably call them up, say you want to cancel it, and they can give you a better rate or a better discount than what you're currently paying right now. Now, once you find your financial baseline, step number 2 is to build something called an emergency fund. Now, just like the name entails, this money is specifically set aside for emergencies that may come up because honestly, life happens. Just a couple months back, I was in a car accident where a tire hit the front bumper of my car and the total repair cost was around $5,000. Now, luckily, I didn't have to pay the $5,000 entirely because insurance covered $4,000 of it. But that meant I needed to pay $1,000 of that repair cost. Now, if I didn't have an emergency fund, I would need to scramble around trying to figure out where I'm going to get $1,000 from and maybe even ask like friends or family for that money. But luckily, because I set aside money for my emergency fund, I was able to pay for that just entirely by myself. Now, because you identified your financial baseline, ideally you want to have around 3 to 6 months worth of your financial baseline in this emergency fund. So again, with our example with $1,000 as our financial baseline, for 3 months you want to have $3,000, but for 6 months you want $6,000 in this emergency fund. And again, $1,000 isn't a lot and that's not realistic, but I'm just giving you easy numbers to work with here. Now, a really great place that you can store this money is called a high yield savings account, which is just like your standard savings account, but it's going to give you higher amount of interest. So just for comparison, a regular savings account can probably give you like a 0.5% interest rate, but with a high yield savings account at the time of filming this video, it's probably going to give you around like 4%. So you don't need to be a mathematician to figure out which one is going to give you more, the one that gives 0.5% or the one that gives you 4% interest. Now, the third thing that you want to start doing with every paycheck that comes in is to start automating your finances. And I know it might sound weird, like how do you automate your finances? But what I mean by this is literally setting up like auto pay on your credit card. Because honestly, in 2025, you shouldn't even be missing a credit card payment because there's things like auto pay which directly pay for you so that you don't make a late payment. Other things that you can do is that I know for me, there have been jobs where I've held and they have this portal where you can choose exactly how much money you want to hit your checkings account versus your savings account. So for example, if I get paid $1,000, I can set it up so that $200 goes directly to my savings, no questions asked, nothing, like I'm not tempted to touch it. And the rest of the $800 is going to my checkings account. So by setting up these like kind of automated areas in your finances, it really helps kind of leave that step like out of the equation so that you won't have excuses saying that, oh, I didn't have time to move money from my checkings account to my savings account. And at this point with automation, you can also automate it to follow the 50-30-20 budgeting method where like 50% goes again to your basic necessities, 30% goes to anything that you want to spend on outside of like necessities, and 20% can go towards like saving or investing for something else. All right, now the next thing you want to start doing is to pay off any debt that you may have. Now, this might sound obvious, but there's 2 different methods when it comes to paying off your debt. There's one called the avalanche method, and the second one is called the snowball method. With the avalanche method, this is where you want to pay off the high interest debts. So think about like you have a $6,500 credit card debt balance that you have, and it's charging you 19.5% interest every single year. Now, as you can see, that interest rate is incredibly high. You're getting charged 19.5% every single year. In my opinion, this is what I would do, is to pay off that that balance as quick as possible and as aggressively as possible. Now, because you pay that off more aggressively, instead of waiting, 8 years to pay that credit card debt off and like $6,000 in interest, it'll probably take you a year to pay that off. And it's going to only charge you like, a couple $100 because of that interest. Now, the second method is the snowball method, which allows you to pay off the smallest balances first. So think about like small debts. So like, let's say you're in debt for like $100 with only like a 3% interest rate. You can probably start going for these small balances and get those like quick wins so that you feel more like successful in a sense. But again, in my opinion, I think the avalanche method is the go-to way to kind of tackle that high interest debt first. Now, once you're debt free, essentially that's when you can start thinking about actually investing your money. All right, now moving into the last portion of this video, which is going to be starting to invest. Now, like I said before, after you've taken care of high interest debt, this is where your money can start going and flowing into. Now, the whole point of investing is to invest in the long term and for your future self to not have to work another day in your life when you're like 85 years old. That would completely suck. Now, the types of accounts that people open for kind of investing is generally a very popular choice is called a Roth IRA. And generally, if you're young, you're just starting out your career, you're not making anywhere near like $150,000, then you can open up something called a Roth IRA. All right, so to help you understand this, we're going to walk through the WTF is a Roth IRA slide. So starting out, we've got a monkey. He's 20 years old and he works and gets paid 10 bananas every single month. Now with the 10 bananas, monkey needs to pay $2 or not $2, but you get the point. Banana is the money, but 2 bananas to the government for taxes. Now monkey has 8 bananas he can freely use to buy stuff. Now remember, he had 10, he paid 2 to the monkey government, now he has 8. Now with his 8 bananas, monkey's gonna put 3 bananas into this Roth IRA. So with the 8 bananas, he moved 3 over here to the Roth IRA. Now with the 3 bananas, monkey invests in a company he likes, and in this case, the 3 bananas are gonna be invested into the company Dole because he likes bananas. Now, monkey's gonna do this for every single month until he's 60 years old. Now, since the monkey invested his bananas early on, his bananas grew a lot because the company he invested in did really well. Now, monkey can take all his bananas out of his Roth IRA, all tax-free. Why? Because his banana paycheck already got taxed before he put it in the Roth IRA. Now, that's the great part about a Roth IRA. You're basically putting money that's already been taxed by your employer, and with that money, you can invest it into things like the low-cost index fund that I mentioned that allows you to invest in the top 500 companies in the entire US. By the time you reach 60 years old, you can take all your money out tax-free. So this is essentially what that whole scenario played out. Now, some popular options for that low-cost index fund or kind of things that allow you to invest in the overall top 500 companies in the US is going to be things like SPY or VOO. And again, I'm not a financial advisor and investing involves all risk, but generally these are lower risk. So just keep that in mind and do your due diligence. And if you guys want a more in-depth investing video, I can definitely make that. But just to keep this video short and sweet, this is just a general concept of what you can be doing with your paycheck. All right, so those are the top 5 things that I personally do with my paycheck and honestly have worked with some other people that I know. And these are going to be some kind of game-changing ways that you can start managing your money in the year of 2025. So if you found this video helpful, be sure to leave a like and also leave a comment down below on any topic you would like to see me cover on this channel where I break complex things down into more simple bite-sized pieces. But with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.